r/AskReddit by Reddit tells. Parents with nanny cams, what have you caught your babysitter doing? My story isn't that interesting, but I have a camera to check in on my rabbit when I'm not there. The biggest surprises were mostly just how almost nobody followed my pet sitting instructions. The one exception, ironically, was my brother, who claimed to hate the rabbit and always wanted to get rid of it. I got an alert one day that my camera had detected movement while my bro was there taking care of him, and I decided to take a peek. I opened the app connected to the camera and saw my bro walk into my room, lay on the floor, and start playing with my rabbit. It just warmed my heart. We have cameras outside of our house. One day my neighbor told me that he saw my bunnies roaming the streets a few times. I didn't believe him, so I took a look. One time at work I looked at the cameras and saw the gate slightly open, so I rewound the footage. I go to work super early, so I watched as my wife fed them, then got ready for work. The bunnies peeked around the side of the house and waited to see my wife's car leave. Then they pushed on the gate hard enough for the latch to set free. Then they left one by one. Later, before I got back home from work, they would make their way back and close the fucking gate. Smart little fuckers. I never knew the gate latch was so weak, so I fixed that problem. The couple I sat for had a nanny cam in their living room, the kind that went in pairs. They got me on video giving their 2-year-old a Heimlich after he tried to eat a rock. Fun somewhat related fact. I recently took a first aid course, and they are not legally allowed to call it the Heimlich maneuver anymore. Because the inventor died, and his family want royalties for companies teaching it as Heimlich maneuver. It's just the J maneuver now. We have a security camera in my bedroom for my free roam bunny, so we can keep an eye on her whilst on work if we go on holiday etc. Well, my dad is 50 and is a big bloke who acts like he doesn't like pets. Came over to visit one day whilst I was out. He went in my room and crouched down calling the bunny. He spent an hour trying to pet the rabbit and kept repeating in a soft voice, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to pet you and see how fluffy you are." He just about shit himself when I spoke through the security camera to tell him she's very fluffy. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. Not me, but my aunt's friend set up a nanny cam because she noticed that every time she changed her child's diaper the child would start crying a lot more than usual. Turns out when they watched the nanny change her diaper, she would use Clorox wipes if they were nearby instead of grabbing the baby wipes. What the fuck? My family bought one to see our dogs when we leave on vacation twice a year. It's one where they can hear us, and we thought it'd be great. We hardly used it. We also asked our maid to dog sit for us while we were out. Once when we looked at the feed we saw the dog sitter there a solid 30 minutes early just petting the dogs and playing with them. She's since retired from working, but she was the sweetest old lady and we love her. Another time my dad left a wad of cash on top of the washing machine, about $600, and she put a rubber band around it with a note saying he misplaced it. When I was around 12 years old, my parents caught my babysitter on camera stealing my Northeast's games and shoving them into her pants and shirt. They confronted her about it, and she kept denying it until Ninja Gaiden fell out of her pant leg. My mom took her into a room and made take out all the games she stole. She literally had games shoved under the strap of her bra on her back so that she could sneak them out of the house, and others were put inside the waistband of her underwear. She must really thought about this for a while. Anyway, we got the games back and she was sent home without pay. I got a nanny cam to keep an eye out for my elderly grandfather, especially when the homemaids were there. My grandfather started asking for lots of cash and couldn't remember what was happening to it. A brooch that my aunt was supposed to get disappeared, and then I heard reports of my grandfather being inappropriate with some of the home health aides. He was busted squirreling away his medication that he was supposed to be taking in his chair, giving money to an aide and sexually harassing another aide. I've been taking care of elderly with dementia for 13 years. They lose the frontal lobe where the filter is. Little 90-year-old ladies who never swore a day in their life are like friggin' sailors. Lol, men usually get frisky with the females. It's what happens with this disease. The family I nanny for told me that their previous nanny got caught doing loads of awful things. The couple that outraged me most were one, leaving their 3-year-old daughter in the tub with water up to her chest for 2 hours every day, while she sat in another room unable to see said child. And 2, once she went to run an errand with the same kid, and their doorbell camera caught her putting kid in car seat, not buckling her, and peeling off. The mom said you could see toddler trying to buckle herself in before they took off. My grandpa was staying with my parents, but they figured it best to hire the regular sitter to watch my younger siblings overnight, since they didn't think my grandpa was up to the task and they were attending a wedding a couple hours away and made plans to spend the night in a hotel nearby. They had set up a nanny cam in a couple room, my siblings' bedroom, the master bedroom, living room and kitchen, all motion activated. They normally wouldn't bother looking through the footage if everything seemed fine upon returning home, and their master bedroom cam had never been triggered before. When they returned they noticed that the cam in the master bedroom had been triggered, so they decided to take a look. Cut to footage of my grandpa and the sitter both naked aggressively making out from the entrance of the room, staggering while intertwined towards the bed, and then about 20 minutes of banging on my parents' bed. The sitter was about 20 years old and my grandpa was around 70 at the time. My dad called me immediately after he saw the footage, laughing his ass off, and I could hear my mom crying in the background, completely mortified from what she had just witnessed and shouting at my dad to throw out the sheets and kick out grandpa. My mom called the sitter to confront her, and she just apologized and said there was connection or some shit to that matter. When she asked my grandpa what he was thinking, he just said, at my age you must seize every opportunity. I wish there was audio for the build up. I lay awake at night sometimes just wondering what kind of game my grandpa was talking to get in that sitter's pants. I was the eye caught in camera a few times. A family who had bunnies caught me on camera booping noses to the beat of the song I was singing. Little bunny for hopping through the kitchen, picking up all the lettuce and munchy munchy munch. A different family saw me get fucking tackled by their 95 pounds mastiff puppy, and they immediately called me to make sure I didn't have a concussion. Since I just kinda laid there for a while I was fine. I just got the wind knocked out of me. Yet another different family saw me reading a book to their kids and later complimented all the voices I make. I had no idea they could hear audio, and I got so embarrassed since I really did go all out. We hired a dog sitter over the Thanksgiving holidays to check on the pooch, feed the cats, get the mail, etc. Edit. Definition pointed out the various security cams to her. She asked if she could bring her sister along for company. We said sure, no problem. The sister, we found out in conversation, attends a nearby hyper-conservative fundamentalist school. When the hired sitter took the dog out and the fundy sister had the house to herself, she took the opportunity to scream "Fuck" at the top of her lungs a few times. Not a lot else. Just paced around the living room dropping high decibel F-bombs. Gotta find some way to vent that fundy angst. I travel the US for work, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to bring my 2 beagles with me. They have never been away from my side longer than the time I've been at work. They are 10 and 13. I have a camera that I use to check in on them sometimes, mostly because my larger beagle is quite the ingenious guy, opening doors, scooting chairs over places, so he can jump up onto the counters, etc etc. Last year I was in Oregon and had to go home to Michigan for an emergency. I do not fly with them, I will only drive. So I was in a pickle and reluctantly hired someone off of Rover that was willing to come stay over at my hotel room for 3 days. She was great, kept up on texting me about the dogs, said things like tossing them a ball right now, so I would check in via the cam when I thought it was appropriate. This woman was amazing. Not only was she playing with them enough to make them exhausted, she was even teaching them new tricks, making them use their brains to solve puzzles, and even got my 42-pound beagle to get up on her back so she could do push-ups. She was an avid CrossFitter. I was extremely happy. Not my kids, but my sister's. This was when my nephew was still very young and my sister was still breastfeeding. Long story short, my sister caught the babysitter drinking her breast milk. She had her suspicions because my nephew would go through twice as much milk. When the babysitter was taking care of him, my sister set up the camera and caught the guy in the act. Apparently the guy was some sort of fitness nut and had read that breast milk can be very beneficial. As weird as it sounds, my sister ended up working out a deal with the guy. She got him to drop the price of watching the kid in exchange for a bit of breast milk every now and again. We have a nest in our kids' room and living/dining. You can see partially into the kitchen from the living room cam, but not much. About the second week into using a new sitter, we catch her talking tons of shit about my wife and how she coddles our 18-month-old son. Bragged about how she was going to quit at the end of the day because she hates working for us and doesn't like our son. While she's in the kitchen, she puts him in his high chair and turns on an iPad for him to watch. No screen time allowed. He asks to get down and go play after a few minutes and she says no. He starts to cry and she basically yells at him, "OMG, are you serious right now? You're so damn needy." So he cries harder. About 10 minutes later she takes him back to his room where he calms down. I get home a few minutes later and send her on the way. Sitter, oh, you're home early. We had a rough morning, but we are feeling better now. Me, yeah. Hey, you know that camera in the living room is on all the time and I can hear everything you say and do in the kitchen, right? She kinda stuttered and I told her to go. Then me and my kid hung out all day and had a blast. The thing that got me was being mean to my son, like he's not even 2 yet. I smell a gold question that'll make the YouTube channels. Yeah, lot of people can relate to this, so the awards are gonna be rolling in. No point commenting anything since it'll all fall by the wayside. That has to be the weirdest subset of it videos that I have come across. I really do not understand why that's even a thing. The robot voices are annoying. The people who read the stories or try to act like they are their own stories act like theater people, stereotypes who have to be the center of attention all the time by singing show tunes and going on and on about how they are going to be a star, and I just want to tell them to dial it down by about 200. Excuse me, this is not a robot voice. This is my actual voice and I'm insulted. But I still love you. Love Reddit tells. Thanks for watching the video and putting up with my robot voice. Subscribe to the channel for more great videos. Comment with your own story or your favorite story. Like the video if you enjoyed.